I'm going to tell you something the world doesn't want you to know. I'm going to reveal to you the invisible system by which millions of men and women are enslaved every single day. And I'm not speaking metaphorically. I am speaking precisely, scientifically, spiritually, and most of all, truthfully. There is a force in this world, a sinister intelligence that works ceaselessly to steal your thoughts, capture your emotions, weaken your will, and ultimately destroy the life you could have lived. I call this force the devil, not the creature of fire and horns from folklore, but a real psychological and spiritual phenomenon. A consciousness of fear, confusion, addiction, and passivity that manipulates and governs the masses under the disguise of culture, comfort, and conformity. This devil has one supreme method of domination, and that is drift. Now listen carefully, because if you understand drift, you will begin to understand why so many people, even those with talent, intelligence, and good intentions, end up failures. Drift is the devil's method of mental control. Drift is what happens when a man does not take possession of his own mind. Drift is when he allows his thoughts to be shaped by outside influences. Drift is when he moves through life by habit, by impulse, by fear, without purpose, without plan, without intention. Drifting is not laziness. It is far more dangerous than that. Laziness is obvious. But drifting wears the mask of normal life. You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you scroll through noise, you repeat. And in all that motion, you are not moving toward anything. You are merely existing, operating under the devil's silent guidance. This is how the devil wins. He doesn't need to shout. He only needs you to stop thinking. He doesn't need to frighten you. He only needs you to live without vision. He doesn't need to trap you. He only needs you to become addicted to comfort and indifferent to growth. The devil controls people by teaching them to fear failure, to fear criticism, to fear poverty, to fear what others will think. Once fear takes root in a mind, it begins to self-regulate. The devil no longer has to speak directly. The man will sabotage himself. He will stop before he begins. He will shrink before he grows. He will hesitate instead of decide. Fear is the devil's atmosphere. Drift is his method. But he has many tools. He uses habit. If a man wakes up and immediately surrenders his attention to distraction, if he eats without thought, speaks without aim, listens without discernment, then the devil smiles. Because that man is shaping his own prison cell. He uses schooling. You may find this offensive, but truth cares little for comfort. Most schools are designed to condition obedience, not thought, to reward compliance, not creativity, to standardize the mind, not to liberate it. A child with curiosity is often labeled disruptive. A student who questions the system is considered a problem. And so from the very beginning, the devil trains men and women to trade their individuality for approval. He uses religion. Yes, even the systems meant to connect man to truth can be twisted. When faith becomes fear-based dogma, when it is used to guilt and shame, when it teaches men that suffering is holiness and thinking is rebellion, then the devil walks proudly in sacred halls. He uses media, constant noise, opinions without substance, scandals, division, trivialities, endless waves of fear, conflict, and desire. Why? Because a distracted mind is a drifting mind. A man who is addicted to stimulation cannot hear the still small voice of his own conscience. And most cleverly, he uses pleasure. You will think this is strange, but the devil loves to make people comfortable. Because once a man is addicted to comfort, he will avoid growth. He will resist discipline. He will label ambition as arrogance. He will trade destiny for dopamine. A generation trained to chase comfort will never challenge their rulers. This is how the devil works, not with pitchforks and flames, but with habits, influences, and cultural norms that sedate, confuse, and lull the mind into a passive state. And once the mind becomes passive, it is no longer yours. I have interviewed this force directly. I have extracted its methods, its tactics, its admissions, and I have documented it for the 1 in 10,000 who is ready to hear. The devil told me clearly, I control the majority of people simply because they refuse to think for themselves. Most people live in reaction. They wait for permission. They follow the crowd. They fear standing alone. They fear judgment more than failure. They obey without question, not out of virtue, but out of conditioning. And so the devil does not have to chase these people. They offer themselves freely. Now I will speak plainly. If you are not actively taking possession of your own mind, then someone or something already has it. You do not escape the devil by accident. You do not break free from drift without effort. You must seize your mind with intensity. You must claim your thoughts like a king claims his land. You must decide with finality that you will no longer be ruled by fear, by trends, by conditioning, or by weakness. The beginning of freedom is definiteness of purpose. This is the first antidote to drift. If you do not know where you are going, you are already drifting. The devil loves indecision. The man who wakes up each day with no mission, no goal, no burning desire, he is easy prey. But the man with a definite major purpose, he cannot be owned. He rises with fire. He moves with direction. He evaluates his choices based on alignment with his purpose. And because of this, he becomes self-possessed. You must choose that purpose for yourself. Not what others say is respectable. Not what society says is safe. You must dig deep and ask, what do I truly want? What do I feel called to create? What do I wish to become? And when you find it, claim it, own it, write it, obsess over it, let it become the center of your mental world. Then you must apply self-discipline. Because without discipline, even the best ideas dissolve into regret. Discipline is what separates the thinker from the doer. The drifter waits to feel ready. The disciplined man moves despite how he feels. He acts when others hesitate. He builds while others scroll. He develops habits that align with his purpose. And here's a truth the devil does not want you to know. Every act of discipline is an act of spiritual warfare. Every time you say no to distraction, yes to your higher self, yes to your goals, you are fighting back against the invisible forces of drift. You must also cultivate faith, not blind faith, but directed faith, a belief in yourself, in your vision, in your Creator, and in the laws that govern the universe. Because when you believe that you were created with intention and endowed with creative power, you stop seeing yourself as a victim. You stop obeying fear. You begin to act with divine confidence. The devil cannot possess a mind filled with faith. He flees from purpose. He trembles at discipline. He cannot stand in the presence of belief. And yet, he waits patiently for most people to forget, to compromise, to surrender their will for convenience. But you who are listening, you have been warned. And with warning comes responsibility. You must now examine your life with brutal honesty. Where are you drifting? Where have you surrendered your mind? What habits have you allowed to become gateways for control? Who in your circle is speaking the devil's language of fear and limitation? You must cleanse your mind like a temple, purge the influences, redefine your standards, take possession of your attention. Your mind is the only territory the devil truly wants, because once he has that, he doesn't need anything else. But the reverse is also true. Once you own your mind, you cannot be owned by anyone or anything. You become free. And freedom, once tasted, makes drift unbearable. You cannot begin to free yourself from the devil's influence until you understand one core fact. The mind is either directed or dominated. There is no middle ground. You either use it or it will be used. And the devil knows this. That is why he has spent generations teaching men and women not how to think, but how to obey, how to fall in line, how to stay afraid. He conditions you to worship safety over freedom, to chase comfort over conviction, to value opinion over truth. He has worked through every institution, schooling, religion, government, media, to subtly erase the courage of independent thought. And what has it produced? An army of people who look alive on the outside but are dead within. People who wear masks of routine but live as prisoners of fear. People who laugh, who work, who socialize, but never take one bold step toward who they could become. This is not accidental. This is drift perfected. The devil's brilliance lies in this. He convinces people to call slavery freedom. He convinces you that your conditioned habits are your personality, that your insecurities are humility, that your fear of success is wisdom, that your craving for approval is kindness. And if you do not investigate your beliefs, you will live your entire life protecting the very prison that holds you. The moment you accept the idea that you were born to obey, rather than born to create, the devil wins. But let us not dwell on the mechanisms of your captivity any longer. Let us now examine the path to liberation. The first and most urgent step you must take is to reestablish authority over your mind. Not temporarily, not casually, not as a weekend exercise, but as a daily, deliberate act of sovereignty. You must watch your thoughts like a hawk. The average man allows anything to enter his mind, complaints, criticism, distractions, lies, and never questions their origin or their consequence. Would you let a thief enter your home, sit on your couch, and drink from your cup without resistance? Then why do you allow fear to set